Let's talk about today. Let's talk about the bombings in Bombay. Let's talk about the new terror threat against the New York subways, and whether or not you think there is a connection, because I do. For the government of America to suddenly come up out of nowhere, out of the blue, and say they have unconfirmed chatter and this and that New York subways might have, could have been, might be, would be, might possibly be targeted by Islamic terrorists in New York City on the very day that targets in India, in Bombay, a modern center, are attacked, indicates to me that the radical Islamists have waited for the election to end. They smell weakness in the financial debacle going on in world markets, notably in America. They smell total corruption and weakness in the Western leadership. They smell weakness in Obama, who promised the world and is delivering nothing but used a Clintonista salesman. And they feel that this is their moment to destabilize the entire world. I'll be right back. Savage. The attacks in Bombay, which are extremely well coordinated, which are ongoing, is now being linked in a way by me, perhaps others, I don't know. I don't speak to anyone in the so-called intelligence community. But a story has just come up on Drudge where it says there was a plan to bomb Penn Station in New York, and there are men with machine guns, as I speak, in Penn Station and in the subways in America. It's long overdue. I don't know about you. I would like to see more police with submachine guns in America rather than less, because I am a conservative. I am not a liberal. I live in the real world. There's something about police with German Shepherds and machine guns that gives me a sense of confidence. I don't know about you. I realize you potheads want to go off to dye your hair green or whatever, and then go to a club and poison your bodies and your minds. But we don't really care what you think. Intelligence chiefs were expecting Al-Qaeda spectacular. Out minutes ago, this is coming up on Times Online, linked up on Michael Savage in a moment. Western intelligence services have been expecting an Al-Qaeda spectacular terrorist attack in this crucial period. Here we go. Between the end of Bush's administration and the succession of Hussein Obama. Signals intelligence chatter in recent weeks indicated that OBL and his terrorist organization might be plotting an attack, quote, to grab the headlines before Obama takes over in the White House on January 20th. Well, we all know that there's a relationship between the two things, and I saw this coming. I didn't need to read it, but here it goes. British security and intelligence sources said there have been increasing concern, particularly in the U.S., that a terrorist spectacular was on the cards. The multiple attacks on Westerners in Bombay last night showed all the signs of an Al-Qaeda strategy, again, Muslims, picking on vulnerable Western soft targets, but not in a country where there would be maximum security. The attacks on Western targets in Bali, and then they go on. I don't want to read you the whole story. But here's an important part for those of you who like to travel in the third world. The key to this latest attack was the search by the armed Muslim terrorists for American and British passport holders. With a reported 40 Britons held hostage, the Muslim terrorists have the upper hand. The counter-terrorist sources said targeting Bombay's most luxurious hotels and a crowded railway station and all the hallmarks of an Al-Qaeda operation. And, of course, that's why we have been reporting it as such, rather than permitting a caller to throw mud on the water and say it was done by Hindus themselves. Bombay has been targeted before, if you remember, when 180 people were killed during a bomb attack on the railway station in 2006. And there were no hostages then. So now that there are hostages, it changes the picture entirely. This is said to be the most coordinated terrorist operation, by the way, since the targeting of the Twin Towers in New York in '01. And I want to pause right here. That is why you're excited. That's why you're tuning one station to another. That's why you don't want to hear me giving out a turkey recipe or talking about a base store, tell your favorite Thanksgiving stories. That's why I'm doing this, and only this today. It's because in my blood, I knew that this was the most coordinated terrorist attack since the Twin Towers came down in New York in '01. This is something gigantic. This is something global. And the fact of the matter is Al-Qaeda is on the move. We don't know where they're going to strike next. And it's very important that we remain vigilant and that we not panic and that we keep our government's feet to the fire. And we make these deadbeat, degenerate, corrupt bums who have destroyed our financial center use our military the way it was intended to be used. Certainly the New York police are on the move in the way they should be moved. They're in the subways. They're in Penn Station. But thus far, the U.S. military doesn't seem to have gotten the message so far as we know. There's been no movement whatsoever anywhere on earth because, as you well know, George Bush is not only a lame duck president, we'll leave it at that. We'll just leave it at that. I'll open it up to you. San Francisco Gore, you're on the Savage Nation from KNEW. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. This is Gore, and I used to live in Mumbai, where this is things going on, at least 2,000 meters away from that. And I know a lot of things about that place. When I'm watching this on TV right now on my Indian news channel, I'm crying the same way I cried on 9/11.
I understand. I understand because it is the 9/11 of India.
It is.
It is the 9/11 of India. Innocent people have had their lives wiped out by Muslim fanatics once again. No amount of territory, no amount of placating will ever stop them. I want to repeat again, the Islamist has been at war with the rest of the world for well over 1,000 years. They did not start with a grievance over Israel. They did not start with a grievance over Kashmir. They started with a grievance going back to the 7th century itself. There is a rule that they follow, which is the infidel must be converted or killed. That is how the fanatic Islamist sees the world, Mr. Gore. Do you agree with me or don't you?
I do 100% agree with you, and every time I agree with you. I'm a long-time listener.
Well, I'm glad that I do have a multi-ethnic, multiracial audience for the show, and there's a reason for it. And the reason is that I'm as fair as you're going to find in the media, and I do understand history, and I do understand a large sweep of history. And unfortunately, I don't see a very good outcome for this situation. I wish I could come up with a simple, clear solution, because if I could do it, others could do it, and it would have been done already. I'm afraid we're going to have to suffer greatly before anything real is done. I'm afraid many 9/11s will have to occur at once in America before this government is forced to act. And I don't want to go there right now, but thank you very much for the call, my friend. Albany, New York. Deb, you're on the Savage Nation next. Go ahead, please. What's on your mind?
Oh, I'm calling because my daughter is in Penn Station tonight, and I didn't know about the threat until I heard it on your show.
Well, no, it's not being covered by Fox. They're discussing turkey recipes. The leprechaun is discussing green beer, apparently, with a comedian. He doesn't want to offend the 19% ownership of Fox News by having people get a little too nervous about the connection.
I'm a long-time listener, and I've tried to call you before, but tonight...
All right, well, thanks for listening. I mean, I try to give you the news mixed in with politics of the sorts, and also mixed in with personal commentary and personal stories. Houston, Texas. Manjeep, welcome to the Savage Nation. Go ahead, please.
Dr. Savage, it's an honor to talk with you, and you made my day by, bringing the Gandhi exposure to the public of United States, America. You're so right, man. We just love your show, and God bless you.
That's right. Educated people around America love this show. The uneducated adults, the communists, the psychopaths, and the perverts hate me. But, Manjeep, I know what Gandhi did, and I do know that the road to you-know-where is often paved with good intentions. Whether or not he even had good intentions is another story, because although he is portrayed in a comic book fashion as a man of peace and a pacifist, his own family had a totally different story to tell about him. If I'm not mistaken, did Gandhi's daughter not commit suicide from him?
You're right, sir.
I am right. No, he was a monster to his family, a total monster, an egomaniac, which is indicative of what he really wanted to do. He was a power-mad lunatic who used the guise of pacifism to get what he wanted. But look, if it had resulted in peace between Hindus and Muslims, it would be one thing. But it did not result in peace. It resulted in the death of approximately 1 million people. Some say 500,000. That's an awful lot of people who died as a result of this man's vision of carving off a piece of India into a country called Pakistan, which was made up out of thin air.
Yes. Can I, Dr. Savage, can I add a little bit something quickly? I won't take your time. You know that when you talk about this Muslim talk, we are so glad that you talk our language. I'm a Sikh, and we've been through with them for like at least 400 years, sacrificing back and forth. And
yes.
I just love you so much that you could speak that honestly about on this thing that it makes my day.
No, I understand. The truth has a certain healing quality to it, especially when you live in a geography of lies in the U.S. media, a geography of double talk, a geography of ignoramuses. When you hear the truth, it's as like a medication has arrived in your brain.